There exists a certain kind of silence that feels anything but peaceful. It resonates beneath headlines and leaks, buzzing in the corners of conversations that remain unspoken. This is the silence Meghan Markle finds herself engulfed in at this moment. For years, whispers about her past have circulated through forums and blogs, filled with rumors of yacht parties, luxury circles, and names that are too risky to mention in public. Initially dismissed as mere internet noise, the whispers have now transformed into confirmations, and the spotlight remains fixed. The unfolding narrative is not merely about a public relations misstep or a misunderstood quote. It delves into ties, affiliations, and social circles that intersect with some of the darkest names in modern pop culture memory. Jeffrey Epstein, a name synonymous with pain, exploitation, and power, now finds Meghan's name orbiting in its vicinity. This connection does not imply criminality on her part, but rather highlights the blurring line between proximity and involvement. Before her title as Duchess, Meghan was an ambitious actress, navigating elite circles that most only read about. Yacht parties were not just lavish escapes. They were venues where connections were forged, careers were launched or destroyed, and powerful names were present. Epstein's name often appeared on guest lists, either directly or through those who surrounded him. Billionaires, producers, foreign royals, and dubious financiers mingled in these spaces, and Meghan was among them. Insiders from that world now assert that she was not merely a background figure. She was known, social, and adept at charming influential individuals. While her attendance at these events was not illegal or uncommon, what raises eyebrows is her subsequent actions. As her star ascended, so did her desire for control. Reports from major media houses indicate that Meghan's team worked diligently to sanitize her past. Calls were made, emails were dispatched, and journalists were nudged, with some even offered payments to suppress stories about her early Hollywood days, particularly those linked to the yacht scene. One editor recounted being promised an exclusive interview in exchange for dropping a piece that connected her to Epstein's circles. Such offers are indicative of attempts to bury uncomfortable truths. For a time, this strategy appeared effective, but the truth has a way of resurfacing, especially in an age where receipts and screenshots are readily available. Former friends who once remained silent are now speaking out, and journalists are sharing previously withheld communications that reveal efforts to erase parts of Meghan's past. The more one attempts to erase, the more curiosity is piqued. Being in the same room as someone controversial does not equate to guilt, but the effort to deny any association raises suspicions. Meghan's carefully curated image is beginning to fracture. She has portrayed herself as someone who transcended her circumstances, a victim of the system, and a champion for justice. However, the connection to Epstein, even if indirect, contradicts that narrative, especially when shrouded in denial and image control. Public frustration is not directed at her past, but at the cover-up. With her latest Netflix show faltering and her team scrambling to shift the narrative, the timing is particularly unfortunate. The public is scrutinizing her, asking a fundamental question. Who is Meghan Markle really? Hollywood thrives on reinvention, altering looks, names, and backstories to stay relevant. However, there is a distinction between reinvention and rewriting history. Meghan did not merely adjust her narrative. She attempted to erase entire chapters. In her early days, she was not casually ambitious. She had a strategic plan. She understood the unspoken dynamics, the importance of relationships, and the art of calculated charm. A PR insider from that era noted Meghan's precision in managing her image. She knew where to appear, whom to associate with, and when to withdraw just enough to maintain intrigue. This strategy propelled her upward through small roles in reality shows, but the leap to royal fame was not a matter of luck. It was a result of meticulous networking in exclusive circles where entry was granted not by wealth but by silence, beauty, and adherence to an unspoken playbook. The yacht party circuit was significant, not as glamorous getaways but as clandestine social ladders. Producers, tech moguls, and foreign diplomats gathered away from prying eyes, and women like Meghan were present for exposure and access, not necessarily scandal. However, among these elites, some names have since become toxic. Epstein was once just another wealthy benefactor, mingling in philanthropy and social events. His connections spanned politics, finance, media, and entertainment, and Meghan, by association, found herself in those same circles. Those who attended these gatherings recall her presence, noting her strategic approach and the stakes involved. She was not naive. She was selective and memorable. The significance of this narrative lies not in the expectation of a spotless past from celebrities, but in the reaction to it. The aggressive attempts to erase her history, scrubbing photos, pulling articles, intimidating writers, are not typical. Journalists have reported being warned against mentioning certain names alongside Meghan's, with some offered alternative stories as trade-offs. This is not standard practice. It is crisis management. Allegations suggest that Meghan's team engaged firms for digital cleanup, attempting to remove links and manipulate search results. In the digital age, nothing truly disappears, and such efforts only heighten interest. This situation transcends Epstein himself. It reflects the elite circles that wield charm and wealth as currency. Meghan's prolonged attempts to erase her past suggest an awareness of how damaging these connections could be if the dots were connected. The public is not grappling with her history, but with the performance of her narrative. The brand she presents, empowerment, honesty, and truth, clashes with the behind-the-scenes efforts to conceal information. When someone markets themselves as a proponent of transparency while simultaneously controlling the narrative, it creates dissonance. Former allies are distancing themselves, and media outlets that once shielded her are now publishing the stories they previously withheld. The tide is shifting, not due to new rumors, but because the old ones are becoming undeniable. The fallout is reverberating in spaces that once embraced her, with institutions she relied on now sidestepping her, questioning their prior knowledge of her past. The lack of accountability exacerbates the situation. Instead of confronting the noise, Meghan's strategy appears rooted in denial. Public statements remain vague, dismissing everything as baseless gossip or character attacks, even as journalists present evidence. There is a distinction between false accusations and uncomfortable truths, and the public's tolerance for carefully crafted PR narratives is diminishing. An entertainment journalist recently revealed how she was approached to suppress a story about Meghan's yacht party years ago. Not because it was inaccurate, but because it conflicted with the new narrative. The editor's decision to kill the story was not out of compassion but part of a deal, raising questions about how many other arrangements were made to sanitize the past. Additionally, Meghan did not navigate this scene alone. The connections, the parties, the high society influencers, many of them were also regulars at Epstein's events. As Meghan's name resurfaces in old communications, so do the names of others. Some have already gone silent, while others are seeking legal counsel. This narrative is evolving beyond Meghan. It resembles a domino effect. Behind the scenes, royal insiders are reportedly furious, claiming that crucial background information was either misrepresented or withheld when Meghan joined the royal family. Speculation is growing that royal PR teams had access to early intelligence but were instructed to remain silent to avoid friction. That silence is now backfiring. Public opinion is shifting rapidly. Once celebrated as a refreshing presence in a traditional monarchy, Meghan's image is now clouded by suspicion. This situation is not about gender, race, or her past. It is about integrity. People would have accepted a messy, complicated history if it had been acknowledged with honesty. Instead, they received deflection, redirection, and a polished version of a story that is now unraveling. The irony is stark. Meghan positioned herself as a voice for truth, a survivor of unjust systems, a woman forging her own path. However, the emerging narrative reveals a different reality, one of careful manipulation, relentless brand building, and a desperate need to control public perception. While not illegal or uncommon in celebrity culture, this approach starkly contrasts with the image she projects. The next steps are crucial. This moment represents a crossroads for Meghan. She can either attempt to maintain her curated image, hoping the news cycle will shift, or she can confront the silence, share her story on her own terms, and risk discomfort to regain trust. The clock is ticking. Insiders will continue to speak, journalists will persist in their investigations, and eventually, someone will unveil a revelation that cannot be easily dismissed. The truth is not waiting for a press release. It is already making its entrance.